Hello, friends. So just quickly, I put out a video yesterday. It's called "The Three Little Protesters," and it's got a little bit of information there, a little bit of my opinions, my rants, as I call them. Anyway, one of the comments that I made, I really wanted to expand on that one a little bit because I'm sure a lot of people are going to think that I'm nuts or that I'm making stuff up. And the comment that I made was about a report that I had heard that some college and university professors are getting increasingly frustrated because their college students cannot read. They cannot open a book and read the book, and that they're being forced in order to be successful in executing their lessons and teaching them what they need to teach. The professors are having to actually open the books and read them aloud to their students, to their class. This is actually a legitimate situation here. Many news outlets have reported on this and interviewed these professors, specifically the New York Times and the Atlantic, among others, where they have interviewed the professors and they're seeing this increase in frustration at the university level. Now, what I think might be happening here is I think it's a two-prong problem. The first one is a man named Evelyn Wood back in the 1960s started to create a system called speed reading. It became really popular. You could see commercials about it and whatnot in the 1980s, but it started in the 60s. And essentially what speed reading is rather than reading the entire context of a sentence or a paragraph or a page or a chapter, to get the whole picture, the object is to train the brain to pull out only certain pivotal words so that when you're done reading the page, you have jumbled words in your head and you can formulate your own opinions or whatever about it and think that you understand what you're reading. Some benefits, more than not. Also, we now live in a world of technology where students don't have to read. They can opt to have a video on YouTube where someone is talking to them, or an audiobook where someone is reading to them, and they don't have to see the words. They don't have to navigate the mechanics of a sentence or a paragraph on a page because it's being done for them and they're just getting it through the audio, the visual, and not actually through actually doing the work to read. So when you have these two issues, technology, which of course we know can be detrimental to the health and well-being and future survival of our Gen Zers, but also speed reading has created a situation where every single thing in the world is taken out of context, meaning all of these little clips and videos and rants and raves and stuff of polarizing people on the planet, famous people, politicians, whatever, they're always yelling, well, that was taken out of context. And they're absolutely true, meaning that using the speed reading method, these reporters and pundits are pulling out only certain words and certain statements that are being made, but they're not reporting on the entire context of the statement, the speech, the lecture, whatever. They're just taking little bits and pieces. And when they do that, they misinform, and a lot of confusion and a lot of animosity and a lot of negative stuff happens when you do that. But because these Gen Zers are living in a world of technology where they're not being held accountable for knowing how to actually read word for word, you don't have to read word for word, but if you are proficient and you are successful in grammar, I don't know what kind of grammar they're teaching in school now, but when I was in school, grammar was essential and you had to pass the frickin' course. So this issue with, of course, the speed reading. And when you put an unnaturally enormous amount of pressure on a human being, a young adult just coming out of high school, jumping into college from child safe at home in the loving care and arms of your family, supporting you, guiding you. Now you're on your own. Oh my God, there's like, no, you don't have a chance to respond or assimilate or condition yourself to one way of life before another one hits you. And you couple that with the enormous amount of pressure, the volumes and volumes of information that you're required to have. And these are professors from colleges and universities that are teaching doctors and surgeons. They're teaching our future Supreme Court, rocket scientists, military minds, presidents. These are the colleges and universities that are running into this issue. Now, I don't know about you, but if I saw a doctor, a 20-something doctor coming to me or some intern or something, and I had in my head that they may have very little reading knowledge, yeah, I would be very scared to put my safety and my life in their hands. But we don't have a choice because we don't know for a fact where their academia level lies, because we don't have access to that. We trust that the certification processes that are in place and the licensing processes that are in place are going to consider how fluent they are in reading, writing, and speaking the English language. So technology has absolutely obliterated our nation's ability to have any kind of proficiency in our language. I can't say that if you can read and comprehend the English language, if you can speak the English language, you have to read, write, and speak it to be proficient in it. In fact, if you talk to individuals who are professional language interpreters, that what the states require of them is extensive. We're not talking just 100 questions. We're talking 4, 5, 6, 700 page questions, enormous amounts of information and demand of them for the testing and to verify that they're proficient. And then you couple that with those that specialize specifically in medical language interpretation for people in medical situations, or people who are in court, for example. Those are specialized trades sometimes. It's enormous. They have to know everything about more than one language. And we have future doctors, lawyers, judges, presidents, generals, admirals who are in these schools, and they have to be read to like the 5-year-olds in kindergarten, because we as a society have failed these generations behind me. That we have failed them. We have failed them because we have not paid attention, and we have allowed them to be exposed to speed reading, which has taught them to see things and experience things out of context instead of actuality. And then they can't put a sentence together because they've always been read to by YouTube videos or audiobooks or whatever. We have done a great disservice to young Americans coming up who are going to be the future, because there may be a time in our future when technology will not be available. There may be a time in our future when everything changes in such a way that you have to be completely reliant on yourself, and you may not be able to do it. You may be standing next to a doctor who's performing his first heart transplant, and he needs instructions out of a book, and he can't read the book. He doesn't understand. He only knows how to pull out bits and pieces. And this happened to me back in the 80s when I had contracted Lyme disease. My first Lyme disease doctor, this was new territory. Like the year that people started to understand that there was this thing out there called Lyme disease, and it was being caused by deer ticks. People were very sick. I nearly died. It was horrible. And my doctor, this was all new territory for her. So she had medical manuals and Merck books and other things that she kept in the office, and she would open those and she would read them as she was examining me and as we were going through this process together, because it was just too new. She had no clue. Now, what happens if a new virus or disease comes up and a young doctor or PA who has been pushed through these colleges without verifying that they can read a book proficiently, and all they have available is a book? You got to read Wikipedia and shit too. What's going to happen if you're in a dire situation and they don't have the proficiency to do a simple task of reading to help you? What is going to happen to you? What if it's your child? What if it's your mom or your dad or your spouse? This is a very real and serious problem that we are posed with. And I'm glad that these professors and teachers have come forward to make this publicly known, because it needs to be addressed from day one, kindergarten, up to graduation from high school. We need to mandate that these children know how to pick up a book and read it. And if they cannot, they should not qualify for college. And if they can't read, how are they filling out all of these applications for these colleges? Well, probably because mommy and daddy are doing it. Probably because they're paying some professional to do it. Probably because they're relying on AI to do it. You are not helping anybody by making things easier on them when it comes to basic survival skills. Reading is basic survival. If you get lost in the woods and your phone is out of power or you're not within a signal and all you have is a little survival manual pocket book that, pocket-sized book that came with your emergency kit that you have, what are you going to do? You'll probably perish. What if you drive off the road in a snowstorm and it takes hours for someone to get to you? And you have an injury and you need to navigate the instructions in your first aid kit on how to apply a burn bandage or something. What are you going to do? This is incredibly real. It is not a joke. I was not using hyperbole or exaggeration. This is actually out there. You can look it up. Again, the New York Times and the Atlantic are two of the many that have reported on this and interviewed these professors. It's a real thing. These young individuals that are in college cannot pick up a book and read it, or read it proficiently enough to understand and comprehend. We had classes when I was a kid called reading and comprehension. And in our grammar classes, we had, segments that were done that were about reading and comprehension. You had to be able to do that. So this is a very real thing and it needs to be addressed. And we really, really, really need to talk about these things. Whose fault is it? It's everybody's fault. It starts with the parents and it starts with the schools and it starts with the universities. This has been a long time coming. Why are you just bringing this up now? So everybody is at fault because everybody is responsible for making sure that our young people, our youth, are being taught everything they need to know to survive and navigate an unpredictable and unforeseen world. We can't assume that everything will be done for them. So look it up. Give me your opinions. And until next time, do good and be good.